Bug-type Pokemon, known as one of, if not the, weakest type every generation. From underwhelming abilities to low base stat totals and limited move pools, have Bug Pokemon become any better than when they were introduced in Generation 1? Let's find out. Bug was one of the 15 types introduced in the first generation, with a total of 12 individual Pokemon and 4 moves. Generation 1 was before the split of Special Attack and Special Defense, as well as the Special Physical split of attacking moves. This means that all attacking bug moves use the physical attack stat no matter what. The devs did think of this when working on the base stats of bugs, since 9 out of the 12 have an equal or better attack stat than their special stat, with only Metapod, Butterfree, and Venomoth having a higher special stat. Unfortunately, that doesn't help too much when the rest of the stats are not good, with bugs having an average of 281 base stat totals. Critical hits were tied to how fast a Pokemon was, and only Scyther had a speed in the triple digits, which means that bugs were not only frail but also very slow. With no abilities in Generation 1, low accuracy moves like the powder moves meant that Butterfree was not nearly as accurate with sleep powders, so good luck trying to hit 75% of the time. Of the 4 bug moves in Generation 1, one was a status move that lowered the target's speed, which would have been a good equalizer if you could use it, but only Caterpie and Weedle could learn it, and even fully evolved would get knocked out before being able to use the move on most occasions. Also, the move only had an accuracy of 95%. The 3 attacking moves weren't much better. Leech Life did heal the user a small amount of damage done, but with a base power of 20, it wasn't going to be healing much back, and Parasect was the best bug to be able to use it. Twin Needle had a power of 25 and would hit twice with the chance to poison, and Pin Missile had a base power of 14 and could hit anywhere from 2 to 5 times with an accuracy of 85, but Beedrill was the only bug Pokemon that was able to take advantage of either of those moves. The 2 strongest bugs, Scyther and Pinsir, were not able to learn a single bug move. Bug was able to hit super effective into Grass, Psychic, and Poison in the first generation, which there were a lot of Grass Poison dual types. Unfortunately, almost every Psychic type was able to outspeed the bug types that learned bug moves, and with Poison being one of the most popular secondary typings, Psychic Pokemon were able to hit super effective into most bugs. Your best strategies would be to get Scyther, or to have Beedrill try to crit every time with Twin Needle, since in Generation 1, the first attack of a multi-hit move determined whether or not the rest of the hits would also be critical hits. But with bugs being weak to fire, flying, rock, and poison, which many of the gym leaders and Elite Four members had these coverage options, bugs were almost definitely left on the bench. Generation 2 was a step in the right direction for bug types. 10 new bugs were introduced with a variety of new secondary typings, including rock and steel. The special stat was split into special attack and special defense, but similar to Generation 1, more bugs had a higher physical attack stat than special attack stat, since bug types were still only using the physical attack stat. We still didn't have abilities, but held items were introduced, and along with the item Silver Powder was added to the game, which boosts the power of bug type moves used by the holder. There were 3 new bug type moves introduced, 1 status and 2 attacking. The status move was a signature move to the Spinarak line and prevented opposing Pokemon from leaving the battle until the user left the field. But since both Spinarak and Ariados are very weak, this move probably didn't see much usage. Fury Cutter was an attacking move with base power 10 and 95 accuracy, but it did gain power each time it was successfully used, which meant it could snowball into a strong move as long as you continued to hit with it. All of the powerful physical bug type attackers could learn it, which was a good sign of progress. Megahorn, the powerful signature move of Heracross, was also introduced, which made Heracross one of the best bug Pokemon you could use, and it is arguably still one of the best bug types in the game, since it has such a high base attack stat, even though it is 4 times weak to flying since it is bug fighting. Dark and Steel were introduced as new types, and while bug Pokemon lost being super effective against poison, they gained being super effective against dark types. 2 bug Steel Pokemon were introduced, with Steel being one of the best defensive secondary typings a bug could have, only taking super effective damage from fire. We also got more representation of bug types on teams, with the first bug type gym leader and bug types making it onto Elite Four members' teams. But while there were some great strides towards making bugs better with Pokemon like Scizor, Heracross, and Fortress, they were still a very niche pick that only the bravest of trainers would add to their teams. Falling stagnant, bug types in Generation 3 didn't do much to push the envelope. 14 new bug Pokemon were introduced along with 2 new type combos with Ghost and Ground, but other than the addition of abilities within Generation 3, bug types didn't get much better. Bug type attacks were still physical, and the majority of new bug Pokemon have a better physical attack stat than they do special attack stat. Abilities did allow for bug types to fill niches on teams much better, with abilities like Compound Eyes, Technician, Wonder Guard, Guts, and Hyper Cutter complementing the roles of the Pokemon that get them. Ninjask was a new bug flying Pokemon that got speed boost, which made it one of the best choices for using the move Baton Pass, and it is still heavily used for that role today. 3 more bug moves were added, 1 status and 2 attacking. Tail Glow raises the special attack stat by 2 stages, but since it was the signature move of Volbeat, it was pretty much useless. Signal Beam was a base 75 power move with 100% accuracy and had a chance to confuse the foe, while Silver Wind was a base 60 100% accurate move that had a chance to raise the user's stats by 1 stage. Unfortunately, Silver Wind was only able to be learned by Scizor through breeding, so the new moves were limited in use. Representation within the league circuit was abysmal, with no gym leaders being bug experts and only the champion of the region having a single bug type, which was the formidable Armaldo. We finally get the physical special split for attacking moves in Generation 4, as well as 11 new bug Pokemon and 7 new bug moves. While we get no new type combos from the new bugs, we do get a lot of final stage evolutions, including Vespiquen and Yanmega, arguably the best bug types in the generation. 3 of the new bugs have better physical attacks, while 2 have better special, and the rest have equal, but with the physical special split, all previous bugs with higher special attacks can now hit harder with stab. Vespiquen got quite the royal treatment in Generation 4, since of the 7 new moves, Vespiquen received 3 of them as signature moves: Attack Order, Defend Order, and Heal Order. The 4 remaining attacking moves are all incredible moves within themselves, with U-Turn as one of the best pivoting moves that is still heavily used today, Bug Bite being a great way to deny opponents their berries, and X-Scissor and Bug Buzz as 2 incredibly strong attacks, physical and special respectively. Unfortunately, Stealth Rock was introduced as an entry hazard this generation, which, due to its rock typing, can deal up to 50% damage to bugs upon entering the field. Bugs finally made it to the Elite Four though, with the first member Aaron being a bug type expert, having quite a good team and showing just how formidable bug types can be if you underestimate them. But while a few more bugs do shine bright, they're still quite weak when compared to the rest of the types and stay lurking in the shadows, waiting for their time in the sun. And with that, their time in the sun has arrived with Generation 5, without a doubt the best generation for bug types. A whopping 18 new bugs were introduced, along with 4 new moves, 2 attacks, and 2 status. Not only did we receive a mythical Pokemon that is a bug type, but we also get a bunch of cool new bug secondary typings, including Electric and Fire, which, coincidentally, are my 2 favorite bug type Pokemon. 7 of the final evolutions introduced are strong Pokemon, with some still seeing play in competitive scenes even today. While the 2 attacking moves, Steamroller and Struggle Bug, are quite forgettable, the 2 status moves are some of the best status moves introduced in the Pokemon games. Quiver Dance raises the special attack, special defense, and speed of the user by 1 stage, which when used by Pokemon like Volcarona unlocks the ability for massive hits to annihilate foes. Rage Powder is commonly seen within double battles since it redirects all single target moves into the user unless the opposing Pokemon is immune to powdered moves. We also see the 3rd gym leader using bug types, as well as the champion of the region having 3 bug types on his team, 1 being his ace. But what comes up must also come down. Generation 6 wanted bugs to return to their roots of being weak, with only introducing 7 new bug Pokemon, 4 of those being Mega Forms. 4 new moves were introduced as well. Powder was one of 2 status moves, which if the target used a fire move, it would damage the target a small amount. The other status move was Sticky Web, an entry hazard that lowers the speed of entering grounded Pokemon by 1 stage, and still seeing niche usage today. Infestation was the first attacking move, and would trap the target for the duration of the move, not allowing them to swap out. Fell Stinger was an interesting addition that would drastically raise the user's attack stat if the target was knocked out by Fell Stinger, seeing usage on one of the Megas introduced. While the 4 Mega Evolutions were given massive buffs to each of the bug types that got them, you could only use 1 Mega Evolution per battle, and with some of the pseudo-legendaries like Metagross and Salamence getting Megas, not to mention Mega Kangaskhan, the Mega bugs were not as popular of choices. Mega Pinsir became bug flying and received the ability Aerialate along with a buff to its attack, defense, and speed. Mega Scizor stayed as bug Steel and got the Technician ability if it didn't have it already, as well as a buff to its attack, defense, special defense, and speed. Mega Heracross kept its bug fighting typing, but got Skill Link and a massive boost to its attack, but did lose some speed. And Mega Beedrill was introduced one game later in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, staying bug poison and getting adaptability and a huge boost to its attack and speed. But as much as I love each Mega, and even with all the stat boosts and ability changes, these Megas might have been okay to use for the story of the game, but saw very small usage in Smogon and fell off in VGC. We did see a lot of representation in the League circuit, with the first gym leader using bug types. Pokemon Sun and Moon brought the arrival of Generation 7 and a new dawn for bug types. Even though we will most likely never see another Generation 5 for bugs, Generation 7 is another great step forward for bug Pokemon. 11 new bugs, not including Silvally, and 5 new moves were introduced, including the physical and special forms of the Z move, with some exciting new type combos and some incredibly strong forms. The gimmick for Generation 7 was Z moves, which all types were given a special Z move that would upgrade the power of moves. Bug types got Savage Spin Out, which was able to get as high as 190 base power for physical damage and 175 base power for special damage. The other 3 moves were all attacking moves, with one having a much more special interaction depending on the target. Pollen Puff damages opponents, but if used on an ally, it will heal them back. And while this move is most commonly seen on Amoonguss, it is still being used today. Lunge is a physical move with base power of 80 and lowers the target's attack by 1 stage, allowing for it to be a niche pick for some Pokemon. First Impression was the final move introduced and the signature move of the new bug Golisopod, where this move has an increased priority but can only be used on the first turn the user is on the field. Each of the new moves were new ways for bug Pokemon to deal damage and control the board, which was exciting to see. And one of the original bug moves, Leech Life, was given a nice upgrade to 80 base power while still keeping the ability to heal back the user. Ultra Beasts were a new idea of Pokemon introduced where they are powerful extraterrestrial Pokemon from other dimensions. And while some of the Pokemon types did not get any Ultra Beasts, sorry Water and Fairy, bug Pokemon got 2, Buzzwole and Pheromosa. They are both bug fighting types, but their stats more than make up for the weak typing. Not all of the bug types were reused typings, since Ribombee is a bug fairy Pokemon, and Araquanid and Golisopod are finally making bug water Pokemon stand out. And in the main story, bug Pokemon did have some representation with 3 different totem Pokemon and your boy Guzma having a Golisopod. Generation 8 continued the tradition of bathing bug Pokemon in the grace of the new gimmick, with 3 of them getting Gigantamax forms: Butterfree, Centiskorch, and Orbeetle. If we include those Gmax forms, 8 new bugs were unleashed, and if we count max moves, 3 attacks were introduced. Max Flutterbee was the max upgrade of any bug move not used by Gmax Butterfree, and it would lower the special attack by 1 stage of all opposing Pokemon. Gmax Befuddle was the signature move of Gmax Butterfree, and it would cause a random status, sleep, poison, or paralysis, to all opposing Pokemon. Skitter Smack was the final move introduced, a damaging move that lowers the target's special attack by 1 stage. For the new bugs, we saw really cool type combos with Ice and Psychic. Frostmoth is bug Ice, and while it is very weak defensively, it does have a spectacular special attack and a neat ability to help counter its awful defenses. Orbeetle is the bug Psychic Pokemon that turns into a UFO in its Gmax form, and its impressive bulk definitely made it a force to be reckoned with. Unfortunately for Generation 8, Gmax Pokemon were not the most viable, since a lot of Gmax Pokemon were weaker than others that just benefited from Dynamax, and the Gmax moves did not provide enough utility to make it worthwhile. Gmax Charizard was the most notable Gmax form, which unfortunately annihilates just about every bug Pokemon, making it hard to justify using bugs. But not only did we see bug Pokemon scattered in the gym teams and the Championship Cup teams, we also saw a new bug Pokemon become one of the most notable in a specific Generation 8 game. Pokemon Legends Arceus introduced Cleavor, an evolution of Scyther that lives in the Hisui region. Not only is Cleavor an absolute beast, but it was the first main boss of Legends Arceus and one of the coolest designs we have seen in recent generations. The latest Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, definitely let bug Pokemon fade into the background. With only 2 new bug moves and 7 new forms, technically you could now say every Pokemon is bug type with Terrestrialization, bug Pokemon were very weak. Silk Trap is the new status move that protects the user, and if the opponent makes contact, then the opponent's Pokemon has its special defense dropped by 1 stage. A really cool move, but it is the signature move of Spidops, a new pure bug that is incredibly weak. Pounce is a new physical attack that lowers the speed of the target by 1 stage, but it is only 50 base power, so it becomes underpowered quite fast. We did get a new type combo through the Pokemon Low Kicks, a new bug Dark Pokemon. It has a decent speed and attack to make it a good backup for your team, but it is very, very frail. Paradox Pokemon were introduced in this generation, each one being a different form, either past or future, of a current Pokemon. Volcarona got great treatment with 2 Paradox forms, one past and one future, but only the past stayed as a bug type. Slitherwing is a bug fighting Pokemon that, while it does have a cult following and a great physical attack stat, its weak typing and low speed keep it from ever being a viable competitive Pokemon, and you get it so late in the story of Pokemon Scarlet that it is quite underwhelming in playthroughs. In the League Circuit and with Titan Pokemon, bugs don't have very much representation, but I will say that Tarantula, the new pure bug that evolves into Spidops, has one of the best shiny color palettes in all of Pokemon. Looking to the future, I still have high hopes for bug Pokemon to crawl out from the woodwork and shine again, Generation 5 style. There are still quite a few type combos we have not yet seen with bugs, specifically Bug Normal and Bug Dragon, and while Bug Normal would be a very easy early game Pokemon that won't be used after the 3rd gym, Bug Dragon has the potential to be an amazing pseudo-legendary. Or we could see it as the type combo if Flygon or Yanmega ever got a Mega form. Mega Yanmega would be the best Pokemon for a meme team. Fingers crossed Pokemon Legend ZA delivers on one of the two. In regards to moves, Bug has a lot of great utility moves that are used heavily in competitive scenes across all circuits. Sticky Web is a fantastic entry hazard, Pollen Puff is an amazing support move that can also dish a little damage, and Quiver Dance is one of the best setup moves for a sweeper. It just isn't learned by a lot of viable Pokemon. And while bugs are fantastic at dealing with grass and psychic Pokemon, fire and rock types are usually stronger across the board or have a couple of great Pokemon that outshine even the best bugs, making it difficult to fit bugs on your team. But it doesn't matter to me since I will always and forever adore bug type Pokemon, no matter how scared I am of bugs in real life. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of bug types in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.